So I think it's time to build an intro for ourselves. We have been working with this project and I just wanted to take some elements out there to build an intro for your song and to show you guys how I would do that. It's not really hard, and if you're at home and you're watching this masterclass, just easily, and if you have the opportunity to get a computer and to work with me, I'm just trying to loop you through everything that I'm doing, and maybe you can just try to do it with me. So by just doing it, practicing it, you're actually gonna, get through all of this much quicker. So let's dive in. So what do we have on this record? What do we have on this demo that we've been working on since the beginning of part 1? I'm actually gonna play you everything. I'm gonna mute the synths for now. It's really easy. It's this kick drum that we've been working on. This is the bottom of the kick drum that we built with kick 2. We have a top kick going on. There's a sidechain MIDI trigger, which we actually don't use in this project because we're working with kick and kick start. So it is there if you want to use a compressor with the different compression and sidechain technique. But for now, let's just leave it with kick start. What else do we have? We have some, let's just close flex real quick. We have some drums going on. I'm just actually gonna unmute them one by one. And that's about it actually. And there are some effects. And then there's a clap and an extra head. That's about it. So from everything that we have heard now, we can easily make the introduction and the intro for our song. Okay, let's select the, let's say the most filled part of the drop. So you're gonna select in my case 65 until 73 because this is the second part of the drop where we have all the elements playing. We want to take all these elements to the beginning of the song. And why? I'm going to show you right now. An easy trick, you hold shift and you click L to select all of these blocks together, and you're going to unselect the melody parts. We're not going to need them for now. The effects also, we're not going to need them because we're going to manually add them in. I'm going to click one of these blocks, hold Option to copy the region to the beginning of your song. I like to start at 1, but you can start basically anywhere in the project. Just keep in mind that if you're starting somewhere else than 1, that the timing of your record is not going to be the same. I like to start at 1 because then you have a sense of how far you're in, and then the timing is also right here. Now, at some point, Logic or any other DAWs might cause a different time view here. And we just found out by just going to your left top to project settings, which you cannot see in my screen because it's zoomed out, but your left top, and you can go to your project settings and you hit synchronization. And if it for some reason does not show up the way you want to when you're at one of your project, you can actually manually set here that you want to start it at 0. So just making sure that if you start your project, you start at 0 here, because otherwise you might end up with a wrong timing later on in the project. So now you see when I click here at 9 at the playhead, that it nice and tight shows up that we're at 15 seconds. So we're going to copy this part by again using Shift L. I don't want this part to copy with it. So just this one little guy here, I'm going to copy this part. So what do we have now? We can get rid of this one here because we don't need it, and I want to have a sub kick playing without the bass in the kick at the beginning. Well, in this case, I'm going to copy the channel of the low end because I want some of the low end, not everything. I'm going to call this kick low, actually kick sub low, and this one is called kick low. And here we're just going to EQ it for a little bit so it has some low end, but not everything. I think this is about fine. There we go. Right click at this bar here, name regions by track, so you know what's going on. Same here. That works. Now, the difference here between this part and this part is now that this has all the low end and this just has some of the low end. There we go. And if we look up the time bar here, this perfectly ends at 30 seconds. There you go. Now you know that your intro is just long enough to mix it in, and if you for some reason want extra time, you can also make this 45 seconds by copying this part again. Some producers just like to have a little bit of extra time in the beginning to mix it in, or maybe if you're producing trance music, you want to have 1 minute, 1:30. It's all up to you as long as you keep building elements so it doesn't feel like a dull intro. But this is the most important thing. You can actually take away the clap here too. So you have two elements that come back here, which is the clap and the low end of the kick drum. So now let's add some effects that we have here on the drop part to fill up some gaps for a little bit. I'm just going to drag and drop some of these here and see how it turns out. We're copying it with holding Option and I think we have a double here now. So I'm going to remove this one and take all these bars here without this one. Yep. Making sure that the files are still on the same track. Sometimes it happens to be that you're moving one bar up and then all the files have different audio levels, which you really don't want because it's going to mess you up later on in the mixing process. So make sure that these guys here are on the same track as this one. I always check that with just keeping my mouse at one place and one track and see if it meets the other one, and that works. Okay, there you go. You can even decide to just add a little bit of a riser here, a small one, as long as it's not too big, as it's just an intro. You don't want the automation to be copied because it has a different function here. This actually is cool. I can just leave that. And then we have the breakdown. Okay. Let's see. Now we have our intro, which is exactly 30 seconds long, and now we have the drop, which is here. So we're going to have to glue this together so it feels like it's one track. I'm going to get rid of this pad here. Well, actually, I might do that later. Let's select everything and just drag it to the left so it kind of feels like it is one track. I drag this here, just move the automation. And now it directly starts to build. And as you can see here, it is a little bit too much to the left, so I'm going to move this to the right for one beat. And now it should be exactly on the right timing.